Welcome to Science Decode. I'm glad you're joining me from wherever you are. Maybe you're walking outside, maybe you're looking through a window at something green, or maybe you're just ready to see the world a little differently. This is where we don't just explain science, we feel it. Today, I want to invite you to look at something most people take entirely for granted: plants, and realize you might be surrounded by some of the oldest, wisest, and most sophisticated life forms on Earth. So let me just start with a bold statement. Plants are not passive. They're not just background scenery. They're not just resources or decorations. Plants are intelligent, and in their own way, they might remember, respond, and even know more about the world than you and I. Honestly, most of us drift through nature as if it's still and unaware. We see a forest and think trees, but every step through a forest is a step through a living, breathing, communicating system. It's easy to forget this because their pace is so slow compared to ours, but right beneath our feet, nature is pulsing with activity and information. Let's start with trees, because wow, do they have stories to tell. Most of us see them as almost like furniture, tall, stoic, old, maybe a little bit majestic. But what if we took a closer look and saw them as individuals living inside a complex, collaborative society? Because forests aren't random. Each tree is like a person with a role in the neighborhood. And the best part is that they're all networked together beneath the ground. Here's where it gets cool. Underneath a forest, the soil isn't just dirt. It's alive with tiny fungal threads called mycorrhizal networks. You can picture it like an internet for trees. These mycorrhizae wind from root to root, connecting oaks with birches, pines with poplars. When one tree is attacked by a swarm of hungry insects, let's say, it swings into action, releasing chemicals and signals into the network. Nearby trees pick up these alerts and start preparing their own defenses. This isn't just a coincidence, this is communication, at a level human beings are only starting to decode. Imagine being able to grow in the same place for not just decades, but centuries. Imagine listening to subtle changes in the wind, tiny shifts in rainfall, or the stress signal from a neighbor who's having a tough season. Wouldn't you become wise in a way that's uniquely tree-like? There's a word in German, Waldwissen. It means forest wisdom. I love that because it recognizes that a grove of trees isn't just a collection of objects. It's a society with knowledge built up over lifetimes. Ancient cultures believed that trees carried spirit, awareness, and even memory. And here's the wild part. Now science is starting to prove they were onto something. Let's hit pause and check on the research. In 2013, something mind-bending happened. A study showed that plants can, in a way, remember and adapt based on experience. The best-known experiment involves a plant called Mimosa pudica, also known as the sensitive plant or touch-me-not. It closes its leaves when you touch it, a snap defensive move. Scientists repeatedly dropped these plants from a short height. At first, every time the mimosa closed up, expecting danger, but after a while they stopped reacting. The plant learned that this specific stimulus wasn't harmful. Even weeks later, the mimosa remembered and didn't bother to close up when dropped. This isn't reflex. This is a kind of memory without a brain or nerves. Think about what that means. If a plant can learn and remember, reacting differently based on its experiences, then the line between instinct and intelligence gets way more interesting. Plants go even deeper. They recognize kin. In experiments, researchers have shown that a plant placed next to a genetic sibling will grow less aggressively, maybe share light, water, or nutrients. But next to a stranger, it shifts to competition mode, trying to outgrow or outmaneuver its rival. If that doesn't sound like familiar family dynamics, I don't know what does. And here's another level. Plants react to sound. Roots have been shown to grow toward the noise of running water, even if the nearest moisture is somewhere else. Some plants seem to grow better with music, others with gentle voices. It's not magic, it's an awareness of the environment, using cues we're only now starting to understand. All this muddies up what we think intelligence actually means, doesn't it? There are no neurons or brains in a forest. But intelligence, it turns out, isn't limited to what fits in a skull. It's about sensing, responding, adapting. And in this, plants may have a homegrown wisdom entirely of their own. Let's hit pause on the why does this matter question. Because it affects us whether we respect it or not. Plants clean our air, regulate water, stabilize climates, and shape the environment we live in. Our bodies are built quite literally from stardust and plant matter, grains, fruits, vegetables, medicine, all of it. But in our rush to build, farm, and expand, we sometimes act like these living systems are just resources. Forests are felled based on numbers in spreadsheets, not the social complexity and memory stored in those roots. So what's the opportunity here? Humility. Just look at what plants do. Patient, flexible, deeply interconnected. We might build smarter cities or healthier communities if we modeled them after forest intelligence, using decentralized structures, resilience, and communication. Imagine technology that's more adaptive, healthcare that learns from plant recovery, even social networks that try to build and heal rather than divide. And maybe just as important, what if we learn to see the world as living mind, not dead matter? When you walk down a city street or along a forest path, pause for a second and notice the bark pattern on a tree, the way a branch leans into the light, or how that patch of grass grows differently in the sun compared to the shade. That stillness you feel, it's not emptiness. It's a fullness we've barely begun to sense. Now, imagine that tree knows you're there, not in some mystical fairy tale way, but in a way that's rooted in biology. The same way a plant remembers learning something gentle from experience,